I'm going to talk about 5 good digital habits for families. I'm going to address some items about video game safety, tips and tools for online safety, and I'll talk about a few other resources as well. So 5 good digital habits for families. I took this material from an online course called Be Internet Awesome. How many have heard of Be Internet Awesome? Okay, not many. So it is a program by Google, and it's totally free. I'm going to show this short clip, and then I'll come back and talk about the habits and the program in more detail.
I try to prepare him for the real world. I'm not with him 24/7, so I can't protect him all the time, can I?
Kids are inherently curious, and on the internet there's so much knowledge and information that I need to make sure that as an educator that I'm teaching them the skills that they need to start to look out for themselves. The Be Internet Awesome program is designed to teach students in a fun way how to be safe online.
What they do online now is something that's going to follow them for the rest of their lives. The lessons we're doing and the activities that we're doing in the classroom are making an impact. They are developing the skills that they need in order to be able to keep themselves safe online.
All right, so this is a really wonderful program. If you're a counselor, if you're a teacher, if you're a parent, I highly recommend going to this website and downloading the curriculum. It's full of lesson plans, activities to do with your children and with other kids that you're associated with. I'm going to briefly talk on 5 of these habits. Just know that there's much more information in this program about each one of these. So the first habit that we'd like to talk about is called Be Internet Smart. So when you do things online, when you're engaged in activity, you want to stop and you want to ask yourself, should I really do this? Should I really post this? Should I really say this? And should I really share this? And most likely the answer is probably no, but it's important to think about that before you do it. And one of the things you want to ask yourself and talk about it with your family and your kids is, as a family, what is and is not allowed to be shared? And what can you share with your family and your cousins and your aunts and uncles, and what can you share outside of the family? So there's some very important discussions to have as you get into this topic. The second one is Be Internet Alert. So figuring out what's real and what's fake is vital to online safety and citizenship. And so it's something you want to keep a guard of and always be aware and alert about what you're reading and what people are saying to you. And so one of the activities to ask yourself, and also with your kids and your family, is what is real? How do I know this thing is real? How do I know what I'm reading is real? How do I know that it's fake? How do I know that it's an advertisement? And how do I know that, how can I verify this information? If someone's chatting with me and telling me something, how can I verify that? So they have some great exercises on how to do that and how to search and verify things. The third thing is Be Internet Strong. So avoid sharing personal information online, social security numbers, addresses, names, birth dates, things like that. Those can be used by predators and hackers to gain information about you and to steal things from you. Oftentimes when you play games or in a social media site, you'll create a screen name that you'll log in as. And so here's some examples of some screen names up on the screen. So the first one is Jessica Para 2005. So a predator can look at that and say, oh, here's a 16-year-old girl named Jessica. I'm going to try to chat with her. So you want to choose something that doesn't have your personal information or something about you in that name. So something like Pumpkin Pie 123 is a lot better than including something about your name. Another thing about being internet strong is creating good passwords. So I usually try to use words or phrases mixed with numbers and symbols, usually some uppercase letters as well. Most of the parents I've talked to have a whole index of their kids' accounts and passwords so they can log into the accounts at any time and double check what's going on in those applications. One of the exercises to think about and work with your children is coming up with good screen names and good passwords so they know how to do it when they're on their own, when they need to create their own accounts in the future. The fourth one is Be Internet Kind. So treat others how you want to be treated, both online and in real life. A lot of the parents that I've talked to, a lot of the problems they've had with kids is with their kids is they've gotten into fights with other kids online. Somebody said something. When you communicate digitally and you post things, it can be taken out of context very easily, and people can get very mad and they'll try to retaliate towards you. So have a discussion with your family on what behavior looks like and what does that mean and how things can be taken out of context. And the fifth habit is be internet brave. Well, it's really important for parents to be able to listen to their kids and understand, let them understand that they're not on their own. So you want to talk about these type of scenarios and hypothetical situations before they happen so the children are prepared on how to deal with it. So those are the 5 good family habits that I recommend. That program, Be Internet Awesome, has much more details and activities that you can do as a family, so I highly recommend it. I want to address a few things about video game safety. I'm going to show this quick clip because video games have changed a lot since we were kids. I'm going to make a couple observations afterwards, but I'll play this and we'll come back. Man, so that game was Fortnite, for those that aren't aware. And these games are pretty intense, and they've changed so much. All of these games are similar, the way they're designed, all designed to be integrated with the internet, all designed to be social, all designed to be multiplayer. It takes pieces of trend culture and embeds them into the game. And features not just video game music anymore. It's the popular music, movie characters, celebrities, so it's a lot of draw. And the idea is you're getting a group of your friends together and you're going on these epic adventures in these new virtual worlds and you're having a party while doing it. And it can be a lot of fun. And I'm not saying games can't be fun. I mean, games are designed to be fun and they're designed to be addictive. But there are risks that I do want to highlight. A couple things here. So cyberbullying, it can be a big issue within video games. There's a concept called griefing, where you're basically, players in the game are ganging up on others and stealing targets and making it less enjoyable for them. There's a concept called doxing, where you're basically revealing information about other player in the chat to embarrassing them or distract them. A lot of young people want to get ahead in the game. They're very competitive, so they want to download cheats and cracks and skins and things like that to get them into the next level. But those information often contain malware and viruses, and that allows hackers to get into the computer and to be able to take things over and steal things. So you want to be careful on when you download things on where it's coming from. Online chat is probably one of the bigger risks in video games. So if you take a look at the screenshot, on the left-hand side of the screen is the chat, where all the people are in the chat. And then the bottom is a video conferencing video of all the players. So you're basically video conferencing with a group of people while playing the game. And you're going on all these missions and you're forming these relationships. And that could happen over the course of days and weeks and months. It can be a lot of fun with a tight group of friends or family. But if you start having people that you don't know join, they form relationships and bonds over these weeks and months. And that's where the vulnerabilities happen. And that's where the predators can start making moves. So a lot of parents I've talked to have either completely banned that part of the game or they've tightly and highly regulate that area. And these type of games, gamers can get pretty intense with how they play things. And so pretty much expect to hear any foul language, racist language, sexist language, you name it, it's pretty much fair game in these type of environments. Financial risk. So I found this so interesting when I was doing research. So the video game industry is bigger than the movie and sports industry combined. So you think about the NFL and the NBA and Hollywood movies. And the video game industry is bigger than all of that. They got tens of thousands of developers working on this stuff, hundreds of millions of players around the world playing these games, a lot of investment into it. So many games are free or they are very cheap, but they offer easy ways to buy weapons and buy outfits and dance moves and all these things to make the game more enjoyable. And there's, of course, many stories of parents having thousands and thousands of dollars of bills on their credit card, and they trace it back to a video game. So definitely be aware of that. Or they'll actually pay people to log in as their account to do good, and then they end up stealing a bunch of things. So, of course, health risks. Kids aren't getting as much exercise, so there's health risks, and a lot of mental health as well. So the effects of cyberbullying can be very real. And also addiction is a big thing, and kids get pretty intense playing these games. They get pretty upset when they lose, so they need a way of dealing with their anger and stress so they don't put a hole in the wall or break the controller. Most games do have security settings. You can disable chat, disable webcams, and put guards around your credit card information. So there's a website called nationalonlinesafety.com. This is a great resource for a whole bunch of games, apps, websites that you can go to, and it has parental guides and details information about what settings to set in these games and apps. So with the few minutes that I have left, I'm going to talk about some tips and tools for online safety. I do recommend kids to have a Google account, because once you have a Google account, you can set security settings on that account. So as long as they're logged in as their account, there's things that you can do with it. First one is you can turn Safe Search on for your account. This will filter out explicit content in the search results. There are other settings to manage your privacy and your security, so it makes it very easy to do that. There's also a restricted safe mode in YouTube that will filter out mature content out of YouTube. You can also view YouTube history, so if you think your kids are playing or watching YouTube instead of doing homework, you can actually see the history of videos that they've been watching. There's actually several things that you can install on the device that'll help you set these digital ground rules around the usage of the devices. So there's a software called Family Link, which is put out by Google. There's another one called Custodio, and there's other ones as well. But this will allow you to install that software on the device and set those digital ground rules in place. So you can remotely lock the devices. If a kid downloads something, you'll get an alert, or you could even set up an approval process where they have to approve it first before it installs. So a lot of information there, definitely can be useful. So as a cloud architect, which is a cloud specialist, I love diagrams. And so I drew two diagrams here. So on the diagram on the left-hand side is your typical home setup. So you have cell phones, laptops, TVs, whatever, connecting into your home Wi-Fi. And then that's connecting out into the internet. And it's pretty wide open. I mean, there's some security in the routers, but as far as content, it's pretty much out there for whatever is on the internet can come in and out of the home. Check your wireless router at home. If you do have AT&T UVerse or Xfinity, there are some parental controls that you can put in place. They may be limited, but they are available. Now, if I was going to provide a recommendation with the amount of time that I have, I would recommend the approach on the right. And so if you take a look at number one, so you want to install security software on the devices. So that Family Link that I talked about, or Custodio, or something like that, put those on the devices. There's also something called Norton 360 or NetNanny, something like that will install onto the laptop or computer. The second thing is look for the game-specific settings, like I mentioned on that website, nationalonlinesafety.com. If you know they're into a game or a specific app, look for those settings and be able to look and play around with the security and privacy settings. Third one is check your parental controls on your wireless router. You may have them and not realize them. If you don't like them or if you don't have them, you can always buy another router. So Google Nest makes a great one, Netgear, and there's some other ones where you can buy an additional one and put it in the home and add those filters and those controls in the home. The fourth one is a VPN server. So a VPN server is a set of software that sits in the cloud, and you configure your devices to point to that VPN server. And so in that diagram, there's the green arrows that are going through. So all the content from the internet is being filtered to that VPN server. And you can put additional parental controls and filters on it. If the kids leave to go to the grandparents' house or their friends, that filtering is still in place through the VPN server. Unfortunately, there's no silver bullet. I wish there was just one application that would solve all of the problems. Unfortunately, there's not. So you have to use a layered approach. You have to use a lot of different strategies to block things. Random checks are always good. A lot of parents I talk to do random checks on the devices and the accounts and the games that they play. They also use limited time. So the less time they're online is the less time they have to get into trouble. And so they'll automate it and say, okay, games from 7 p.m. to 8:30, and everything gets shut off. And it's out of my hands. I'm not the bad guy. This is how it's configured, and it'll shut it off. If it sounds complicated, it kind of is, unfortunately. It can be complicated, but it's too important not to spend the time to figure it out. And it may require you to spend a couple evenings trying to figure this stuff out, or a couple weekends, or trying to talk to somebody that can help you, or take a class online, because it can be complicated, and kids learn really quickly how to get around this stuff. So you really have to keep on top of it. A few of the resources that I have. There's too many apps and games to go over today. Snapchat is one that I'll call out where the messages disappear, so you can't see what they've been talking about. Location tracking is on by default. Most of you are aware of the dangers of TikTok. But this website, again, nationalonlinesafety.com, has very detailed guides to all of these games, apps, and websites that you can go on, and it'll help you figure out what those dangers are in those settings. I have several tips for parents here, but really the biggest thing that I can say is you want to stay involved and learn. That's one of the biggest things I can say as well. Just learn some of this technology, play some of the games, and also learn the tools that I mentioned that can prevent and help filter out this content and provide those safeguards. At the end of the day, you have to teach them how to be responsible, but you do have to show that you trust them as well. So a lot of parental engagement in the home. I'm sure everyone has stories that they've heard of where kids have gotten into some type of trouble. I'll just read the one at the bottom. I've talked to a parent recently, and they said, "This is difficult with ever-changing new apps and trends. We do random phone checks regularly. We didn't even know Snapchat had a location tracking feature until one of our boys was being followed by a young girl." So these are stories from just around this community of all sorts of various things that have happened. At the end of the day, it can't necessarily put a law or regulation in place. It's really around parental engagement and guidance. But I do feel as a society, we do have some roles to play to help with this area. There's some additional resources here that I have. You can definitely check them out, and there's more in the presentation as well. And the last thing I want to end on is it might be easy to say, okay, we're just going to ban everything. We're going to get rid of technology out of the home. But I would just say we can't be afraid of technology. We need software developers, and we need graphic designers, and we need these storytellers to be able to use this technology for good. And many of the people in industry learn young, and then they grow up with this technology, and they use it as careers, and they can do a lot of good with it. So I encourage you to encourage kids to use this technology for good, but provide the safeguards in place so they're aware of the dangers and so they don't fall into bad things.